Dandelions, once the most prized plant in our culture, today the most cursed. Dandelions are easily recognizable by their bright yellow flower, but the plants, and not the flower, are enjoyed as the first fresh springtime vegetable. In the St. John Valley, people still enjoy a great meal of dandelion greens. Dandelions are a versatile plant that is enjoyed fresh and can be stored in many ways, including being salted, being canned, and frozen. Dandelions grow in any open area and do not require good soil. Actually, they have a preference to poor, gravelly, or very wet soil. Today, we will take a trip in our backyard to collect a bucketful of dandelion greens, clean them, wash them, cook them, prepare them for storage, but especially enjoy them. Dandelions are easy to identify. They appear as a small star-like plant on the brown ground. They start growing as soon as the snow melts. They grow quickly and are best eaten when the greens are 4 to 5 inches tall and before the flower buds start to appear. The traditional way to harvest dandelions is using a strong, long-bladed knife that is used to dig around the plant and also cut the plant's roots. Since the soil is often gravelly, cutting the soil with a knife will quickly dull the knife. Once the root is cut, the plant is then pulled out of the ground. Dandelion plants have one large root from which many smaller stems are connected. Once the plant is separated, the brown leaves are removed. If the plant has any flower buds, these are also cut off. The remaining brown root is also cut off and discarded. The green leaves that are left are then examined and put into a bucket. The process of cleaning the roots, of removing the brown leaves, of cutting off the flower buds, and the remaining root stems continues until the entire bucket is full of great, delicious greens. Instead of using a knife to dig out the dandelion plant, a round shovel works very well. The process remains the same of breaking up the roots, removing the brown leaves, and cutting off the flower buds. As a side note, dandelion roots produce a milky white liquid which will leave black stains on your hands that is near impossible to remove. You can always tell when somebody has harvested dandelion greens by the black stains on their fingers. The reason that dandelions can survive in poor soil is their large root system that goes deep into the ground. Here we can see the many stems that grow from one main root. Once the bucket is filled with harvested dandelion greens, they must now be washed to remove any dirt. Here, we are fortunate to have a large spring overflow that is used to wash the greens. Any remaining flower buds are pinched off, as well as any dry leaves that have been left on the plants. One by one, each plant is carefully washed, examined, trimmed, and then put in the bucket. Now that all the dandelions have been washed, they are brought in the house for a final washing and inspection before cooking. Inside the house, the dandelions are washed once more. The process is similar to what was done outside. That is, each plant is examined to see if there are any brown leaves, pieces of root, and flower buds. These are removed. Now that the dandelions are cleaned, it is time to cook them. The traditional way is to put them in a large pot, cover them with water, add salt, and of course, adding salted pork. They are then cooked for 20 minutes and ready to serve. Don't be afraid to fill the pot. When dandelions cook, they will soften and shrink. And this is what we waited for. A plate full of boiled potatoes, ham, carrots, and dandelions. Yum, yum. You can salt dandelions in a glass jar. Start by putting a layer of dandelions at the bottom. Add a liberal amount of salt. Add more dandelions. And another layer of salt. When the jar is full, put a clean lid onto the jar. Put a sealing ring and then set it aside in a cool place, and it will keep until next winter. Canning dandelions is another way to store them for later use. First, they are cooked for 3 minutes. You will notice that as you cook dandelions, they will wilt and shrink. Next, place them in clean, hot glass jars. When the jar is full, up to 1 inch from the top, add boiling water to cover the dandelions. Add a teaspoon of salt. Place a lid that has been heated in hot water on the jar and add the canning ring. The jar is then ready to be processed in boiling water for 90 minutes or a pressure cooker canner for 30 minutes. Freezing is another way to preserve dandelions. First, they are cooked for 3 minutes. They will be limp and shrink. Then place them in cold water for 3 minutes and drain the water. Then place them in freezer bags or containers that have a good seal. Remove the air out of the bag and seal the bag. They are then placed in your freezer until you are ready to eat them. Dandelions are a very traditional spring food in the St. John Valley. They are the first fresh vegetable of spring. They are easily cooked, salted, canned, or frozen. But most importantly, They are delicious and nutritious.